Hello and welcome to cloudy Southern California. This is the Mighty Dish. The Mighty Dash is Kid's sister. And we are on the ground here at Point Mugu Naval Air Station, just north of Oxnard here in Ventura County in beautiful Orbx, Southern California regional scenery, their new thing. We have just picked up a group of visiting Japanese defense subcontractors who are going to go from their cocktail partying and entertaining and wining and dining with the likes of Northrop and Grumman and Lockheed and Martin and all the rest of them, and they're going to be heading up on the taxpayer's dime to Pebble Beach for a little bit of golfing enjoyment. So let me just get our gauges ready to go here. We are going to be squeezing them in under some pretty rough weather. Looks like ceiling of about 300 feet and deteriorating at Monterey Regional Airport, KMRY. But we are honor bound to get them there. So it'll be a short little flight. It's going to be a fun little flight. It's going to be a spicy little approach. And let me just get our altimeter here for Point Mugu. I'll show you the route. We're going to fly to the San Marcos VOR, at which point we'll pick up the Victor 27 airway. We'll take that to Big Sur. And then we're going to loop around here out over the ocean and fly the ILS approach into runway 10 right. So, and unfortunately though, we're going to bypass the private airstrip known as Wonderful Pistachios and Almonds 2C and 4, which is the greatest named airstrip on Earth. Okay, 30.01 is our altimeter. And that puts our field elevation at 20, and that is correct. That is our cross-check. Make sure we're ready to go. Bus tie is off. Lights are on. Landing altitude is set. APU is off. Bleeds are min. Last time I took off with the packs off and didn't discover it till got to about 12,000 feet when an altitude warning came on right here, and I had to do an emergency descent so that we didn't all die. Not very bright on my part. Just stop the clock here. And we will restart it thusly. Our trim is set. Rudder trim should be actually 10 right. Our flaps are set. We got plenty of runway. Props are full. Bleeds are min. We are going to be cruising today at 240. Just spin that in there. And we're going to fly the pink needles at least for the moment. We'll fly the blue needles on the approach, and we will fly it by hand. So, everyone ready? Good. Fix our gauge here. And close that one. So here we go. And there's 80. We've got 1.5 miles more runway. And there's V1 and rotate. And you'll get at least a little bit of glimpse of Southern California scenery here before we get too far out over the ocean. We're just coming up right around Vandenberg Air Force Base. see some of the ground textures and some of the city details, and button fry, so up can come the flaps. And we're looking for 1,000. And when we get it, bring back the props. And we'll turn out our switches here. And bring our bleeds to normal. And just do a little bit of sightseeing. And look at all the details they put in there now. There's an amazing amount of auto-gen. There's really good street map detail. You see the neighborhood down there. There's ships in the bay. There's a little bit of everything. That is the Vandenberg complex, if I'm not mistaken. And we're just going to hand fly this up to altitude here. I'm going to, in 1 second, pitch down very slightly. Speed up to about 175. Put us in IAS mode. And climb us at that speed. Right there. And for the moment, put in the autopilot because I want to do a little bit of sightseeing if we can, right before we get swallowed up by the clouds. Take a look out this side. So look at the variety of texturing now you get. You get relatively accurate neighborhood boundaries, you get golf courses and farms, you know, updated land class, updated mesh. And it's pretty challenging on the frame rates. But there we are. Let's just do a little first officer sightseeing here. So, I mean, this looks significantly like Southern California, which is great. But it's puts some pretty hefty demands on your system and your setup. Keep our eye out for icing. And we're coming up above 10. Check our pressurization and it's good. Let people stand up. Why not? I will turn our radar on though. And put it over on the first officer's side. And see what we're getting ourselves into. And that could be nasty over there. And there. But we will rise above it. The clouds are, of course, Rex soft clouds, and the sky is active sky next, and I believe those are the Channel Islands off of Santa Barbara there, because we're coming up over Santa Barbara shortly. Some really beautiful country. Let's take a look at our approach. We're going to be flying. We're going to be flying out to a waypoint called Galen right about here, and then coming towards Zebed, which will be our IAF, and then we'll just fly it on down. And we'll make a mental note that our approach course is 098. And actually, while I'm at it, we'll set our touchdown zone elevation as 198 for our HUD. And our runway is 7. So 7,000 and enter. And then for the elevation, 198. And that is done. Do that before we forget it, mainly. And we've got a little ice, so on can come the boots. And on can come the heaters. And we'll bump our reference speeds up and just see whether we're anywhere close to stalling, and we're not, so just leave it out so we don't forget. And everything else looks good. Just as a backup, let's tune in San Marcos 114.9. San Marcos, sorry. San Marcos is down near San Diego. 4.9. Plop that in there and come down here and turn our RMI needle here for that to VOR1, and you can see the lollipop is pointing right where we're pointing, and we're now above 180, so we'll set standard, and that is done. And our next VOR after that is going to be Morro Bay, but you know what? We'll set Big Sur 114.0 because we're not going to need both of those. Just keep Big Sur as a kind of situational awareness backup. So we'll put Big Sur, which is 14.0. in nav2, and make sure that nav2 is set on VOR1, VOR2, and it is. See, that's green, but it's not showing up yet because it's not receiving. No reason why it should. And RZS is Paso Robles, which is, it's San Marcos, which is, we're almost right on top of, and yeah, those were the Channel Islands. Oh, it's a little sad that we're socked in like this, because flying I did over Los Angeles, it was really, really good. The textures were varied, never repeated itself. Everything just kind of looked the way it should. So now you can fly all the way from Tijuana or Palm Springs or Las Vegas all the way up to San Francisco or Seattle, Vancouver, and you'll still be within Orbx regional territory. So, you know, there's no reason for your scenery ever to look bad again. And we're coming up on cruising altitude. The one thing it does do, though, is it freezes quite a bit now as it loads fresh scenery. So bring our props back to 850 and hope it doesn't burp and make us restart an engine like my damn SciTech quads always do. And that down there is Santa Barbara. Just peeking through the murk, and I believe that's Santa Barbara's airport down there as well. You see the little sparkly stuff right down there? Let's take a look. It is. Look at that. And so that's the 101 going right through there. And boy, oh boy, does that really look does that look just about the way it would. Beautiful. Alright, so we're at cruising altitude. It's a short flight. Just accelerate on up to our cruising speed here. Everything else is Jake. Start to plan our descent even. Do that by looking for our First constraints. And that is all right. Let's see what our caution is. Oh boy. Our flaps didn't come up, and we will see momentarily whether our flaps are broken. And also you can see our condition levers are not in the same place. Thank you, SciTech Quadrant. I'll blame myself for not checking, but I will blame the quadrant for not popping the flaps up when I hit the button. So we'll see if we broke the airplane. If we did, we'll have to land it without flaps. And if we do have to land it without flaps, it is going to be a spicy meatball. Should be fun. Keeps popping up, don't know why. Alright, our first constraint is Zebed, and it's at 2600, so VNAV, Zebed, and we're going to go to the second Zebed. And actually, you know what, we're going to set a constraint for Galen, which is where we're going to turn to Zebed, and we'll make that 3500. So that'll get us in the ballpark. Basically going to do that for ourselves. We'll choose Galen. It's not a published constraint. And we'll make it 3500. And we'll put our rate of descent at 1800. And make it a little bit less than that so we're not coming down so steeply. And again, the scenery is loading and it freezes. So that is a downside. See if I can work on tweaking that. Alright, that's a decent rate of descent. So got top of descent coming up in not too long. What I'll do is I'm going to cut the recording right here and we'll pick it up at TOD. Okay, we are coming up on top of descent into KMRY, Monterey, with a load of Japanese defense contractor executives heading up to Pebble Beach for a little bit of golf, a little bit of R&R, a little bit of dancing, light entertainment. Whatever the case may be, it is a hell of a nice place to be playing golf, and what I wouldn't give to be there, even if it were with a bunch of defense contractors getting wined and dined. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'd mind it that much. I need all the wining and dining I can get. So we're out over the ocean a little bit, and it's a shame that the clouds are obscuring our view. Oh, and by the way, in case you think I'm making a point of it being Japanese defense contractors, read nothing into it. My last load of people was from Victorville to Point Mugu, and it was a bunch of novelty company conventioneers. So there were a lot of whoopee cushions, and there was more than a little bit of plastic doggy duty on the plane when we were all through. We're doing a little bit of charter duty here, Mighty Dish and I, because we need to pay the bills, and because it's always better to keep flying than to sit still. The Mighty Dash, meantime, is on its round-the-world journey and is in our nation's capital at the moment, soon to head up to Philadelphia, then New York, and probably Boston and then Nova Scotia before heading out over the Atlantic. So we're bi-coastal of the dash and the dish here, getting plenty of good experience. So by now the businessmen are probably well in their cups, and so since we're going to descend shortly, let's get them seated. As you saw earlier in the flight, we had a little bit of a control issue in that we thought we'd raised our flaps, but we hadn't, and we got a warning that the flap drive was bad or broken. Not sure whether it's permanently broken, so we'll see if we have flaps on the way down. If we don't, it'll make a challenging approach a little bit more challenging. See, we're 5 from top of descent, and as you can see from the weather here in Monterey, just refresh it, it is broken 400 feet, overcast 800 feet, showers, dropping pressure, and a little bit of a rear quartering tailwind. So all in all, it's pretty raunchy. I would do the RNAV approach from the other direction, except in my experience with this particular approach in this plane at this airport, it's not especially accurate, and so I'd rather have the precision of an ILS approach, which is good down to 200 feet, which should get us in, whereas the other approach might leave us, as it were, high and dry. And of course we divert to San Francisco, which wouldn't be bad, except as much as tourists from anywhere like San Francisco, when you got your heart set on Pebble Beach and we've got 70 golf bags in our cargo hold at the moment, they're going to want to play some golf. Unless I could promise them Tiger Woods would be in San Francisco, I don't think it would be an easy sell. So we're going to develop a little case of get-home-itis, I suppose, and that's probably not a good thing, but we'll get them on the ground. Just plot out our descent here. We've set ourselves an artificial constraint of 3,500 at Galen. It's not a published constraint, but I want to get down to it before we get to Zebed, which is our IAF. Give us a little time to get established, settled in, kick our shoes off, that sort of thing. And make sure we've got 2996 set in standby, and we do. I've also set up our HUD for our runway elevation and our runway length, and that's all good. And I've set our ILS, our localizer frequency and course, in nav2 and also in nav1. We'd been operating on VOR from San Marcos, and I think it was Morro Bay and Big Sur, but we're kind of done with them at the moment. So we can pop ourselves into VNAV mode, and we'll set our altitude for 3,500. And actually what we'll do is we'll set alt cell there and see if it stops. And we will wait for the needle to drop. Also, I'll get our landing speed set for a hypothetical flaps 15, assuming we still have flaps. If not, we're going to be coming in about 135, which should be interesting. With our tailwind, I'll set a speed of about 127. Spin the heading bug around. And we will, as you see right here, get ready to drop. Check our radar. displaying much. Let me just tilt it down a little bit. And I wonder if it isn't frozen. See? Seems to be stuck. Just undisplay that. Let it repaint itself. And see how we get on. Aha! Nastiness. Okay, good. Good, we like. And we will we're not going down, so let's pop ourselves into VNav. And better yet, we'll pop ourselves into vertical speed mode and do it ourselves and recapture that path. See, without putting up a warning, it popped us out of our VNav mode. So that is a dashism. Monitor this for a minute until that needle starts to come up, and we'll shallow off our descent and let it reacquire the vertical path. So I'm watching this needle come up, and I'm adjusting my vertical speed as I do, and I'm sort of following the trend. So as it trends up a little bit more, there we go, popping into VNav mode, and it's got it. Now it's going to do the work for us. And the passengers are seated. We're looking next for 18,000. We're also keeping an eye out for ice and for nastiness, which is dotted all over the landscape here. We can have a little bit more power because physics. Try to beat the weather if it's deteriorating a little bit more. It's been deteriorating for the last few hours as I've been watching it, and this sort of stuff has been getting thicker and thicker. First I thought it was a marine layer, but it looks like it is a storm actually blowing through. And we should probably set our decision height, which is 200 above the ground. And our runway height is 195, so our MDA is, I think, 395. Make it 400 to be on the safe side. And we're back on path. And we can cross-check that by looking at our deviation, and our needle is centered, our deviation is nil. But we can also look at our rate of descent. It's 1,500, and our target is 1,500, and our actual is 1,500, so we are all right there. And also remember, we set a descent rate to get us about a 3-degree slope, and it's showing that we got about a 3-degree slope. So all in all, any way you can cross-check it, it checks out. And it might even be offering to arm our approach. Not sure yet. Yep. And we've already tuned it, so it's not going to offer it to do that. What we'll do is we'll fly to Galen, which I'll show you right here. Galen is right there, and we'll level off at 3,500. We'll take ourselves out of the VNav path mode, and we'll put ourselves in heading mode. We'll flip over from pink needles to blue, and then we will manually, using the heading bug, intercept the localizer and ultimately the glide slope, which is pretty much SOP for the way they actually do it. most airlines require, unless it's an explicit overlay approach or an explicit RNAV approach, to land on with an ILS and to land on blue needles. So that's what we're going to do. And there's Galen, and for some reason there is no altitude set for it, so we're going to. Not sure if that's going to matter, but let's go into our VNAV mode. And it's still designating Galen, so we're good. And look at those clouds as we come up on Big Sur, and look at that radar. We're also going to fly this approach by hand using the HUD. Because why the hell not? I'm sort of convincing myself that there's rarely a bad reason to fly by hand except for workload. And since we're not dealing with ATC, and we're taking, shall we say, a relaxed attitude towards checklists, then I think we can afford the mental bandwidth to fly it by hand. Increases our proficiency. Makes us better dancers. Helps out around the house. It's just a good thing. And besides, you spend all the money for the add-on, it's fun. So we're turning over Big Sur here. Somewhere down there is Big Sur, and I wish we could see it because this is the new Orbx SoCal scenery, and we're right on the border between SoCal and NorCal, which I think is just south of Monterey, so this should still be part of getting a little peek through a little sucker hole there. And that is a sucker hole because there's a whole wall of crap in front of it. Just turn on our lights now. Well, we got the chance. Bring our bleeds to min. Set our field elevation, which is set. Keep our eye on the icing. We're turning on our pumps and things a little early just because we do want to get it squared away. Check my HUD. Make sure it works. And it does. Wish there were a little throttle indicator there, but instead what we'll do is we'll move that over here and squish it down a bit so that we have a little and I don't know why it keeps popping up the shared cockpit gauge, but it does. And we're going down. That's our flight path vector, and it's sitting right on the 3 degrees, which is what we've said. So life is good, and we're right on the barber poles, so we're coming down as quickly as humanly possible. A little bit slower over the ground because of this headwind right here. This is our HSI. This is our heading. It's also our heading bug. We got 2 of them. This is our rate of descent. This is our vertical profile. Altimeter, of course. Just pull off the power a little bit. That is our trim indication, or our slip indicator, actually. It's indirectly our rudder trim indication. These are our minima. And we're just having a big old time here. Alright, so we know the HUD works, and that's cool. We're going to be using it later. And we're just touching the barber pole, so I'll bring back the power. And we're below 10. I think I've already turned our lights on. Yep. Okay, we're all good upstairs. And we'll come down below 250 now, because we want to be good citizens, just as we cross 10 grand. Although if we got special permission from ATC, of course, we could go as fast as they care to let us. Okay, we'll keep it right there, and here comes the rain. And I will bet you dollars to donuts we're going to get some ice. And let's see how crappy the crap looks. Reasonably crappy. Nice. Let's see if there's any ice forming on our little windshield wiper. Just a thin coating. See that right there? And of course we're going to be lingering in these clouds, so, and the temperature is just about right for a little super cooled fluid. Like I said, should be fun. See where we are in our approach here. Alright, we're coming to Galen. We're 15 miles and we need to come down 4,500 feet. And we will. Now we're going to have our big test coming up shortly. We're going to see if we actually have flaps. I'll be sorely disappointed if we don't, but I won't be surprised because I broke them. Alright, brace yourself for ice. Let's just see what this looks like here. Nothing? Anything? Bueller? Just a little. Yeah, let's just put on the boots. No sense in risking dropping out of the sky. Okay, 10, we need to come down 3 and change. We'll get close. Matter of fact, I'm going to put us in V-speed mode, bring us down a little bit quicker, try and get us through this ice. Got 3,500 outcell. And notice how we're ducking slightly below our VNAV profile, which is just fine. Eight to go, and we have to come down. All right, well, we can shallow ourselves out a little bit and slow ourselves down. We are fully enveloped in the crap, and as we shallow ourselves out, I'm just going to let our speed come off. I'm not going to increase the power as we do, and you'll see that our speed is trending down. You see the little arrow here. Ooh, looking nice, looking nice. Little ground below us, looking good. Alright, I can really shallow ourselves out now because we... Oh wait, we have to be 3,500, not 4,500, so... we actually need to come down a bit more. Come off the power. I was thinking 4,500 and we were there, but we're not. So we can come down 1,050, so we're going to be just ever so slightly high. Spin our heading bug around, and we're going to be intercepting the localizer. So what we'll do is we'll pop ourselves into heading mode right now. We'll flip our nav source over. And we're still a ways out here, so we have to fly inbound towards this localizer here. captured the altitude. We'll level out here. And then we are going to cut our way inbound on the ILS. That is our ILS. I'm going to put out one notch of flaps early to see if they work. And they seem to. That's good. I'm also going to check our localizer frequency. 110.7. 110.7. We're good. Gonna set up our props. Ah, okay, there's the localizer. Let's get ourselves on a little bit better intercept. That's about right. Hold our altitude. Pop us into nav mode. And let it do its thing. 098 is going to be our final heading, so we'll set it right now. No, we won't, because it is turning us, and it shouldn't be. It's because it hasn't acquired the localizer yet, so that's why that happened. Alright, bad pilot. Bad pilot. Let's bring us more outbound again onto base leg, and we'll try it again. This is what happens when you're not especially good at what you do. As soon as the needle starts to move, we can do our thing. And now we're going to be intercepting it just a little too sharply. So let's do this. Let's turn ourselves outbound right here, and then we'll turn ourselves inbound again. And we will come around and give ourselves a sane intercept angle here, because we're skating too close to it. So we'll fly outbound just a little bit and come back around. Because on an iffy kind of day like today, there's no sense in being unstable from the get-go. So we'll come out here and pretend we're doing a little procedure turn. So we'll fly outbound at 45 degrees offset for about a minute, and then we will do a 180, and that will get us back on an intercept course, only it'll get us right about here instead of all the way up there. Okay, that should do us. So 098, so we want to be flying inbound at about 068. So in a second, give it another 20 seconds. We'll spin the bug around to our right. And we'll set ourselves up on an intercept course right about there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And around we go. In essence, we've just asked for vectors back to the back to the initial approach fix, but we're doing it ourselves, keeping us below 200. And actually, I don't think we're going to run into ice trouble, so I'm going to turn off our boots. And we're set otherwise. We've been cleared to land. And as you can see from both the map and here, we're going to be flying an intercept right back to Zebed, only now on a nice comfy 40-degree angle or so, 45-degree angle. And so this way we've got a fighting chance to intercept the localizer with a minimum of heartache. And let's just come down to 2600. Spin us down so we'll be below the glide slope. Actually, we are below the glide slope, so we're still good. But we'll want to be more below the glide slope as we get closer. Make that outcell so we don't drop below too far. Look for this CDI to come in. So we load a little scenery. Okay, we're coming up on it. And we're going down. And I think we should be lined up almost perfectly when that needle starts to move. Let our speed creep up a little bit too much, though. It's the way you break flaps. There we go. That's fixed. So many ways you can screw yourself. Okay, now just waiting for the localizer to move. And here it comes. We popped ourselves into approach mode. And we're going to drop down our gear. Let the speed come down a bit more. Pop up our HUD. Jump in here. Watch our speed decay. And watch it pop us onto the glide slope. Let's put in another notch of flaps. Pop up our little cheat sheet.
2500.
Put in our final notch of flaps. And then, in 1 second, fly the airplane. Matter of fact, let's do it now. Come off the power a bit more. Trim us down a little bit more. Wow, we've got a 23 knot crosswind. This is going to be funky. Okay. Just get a crab going here. We're at the outer marker. Trimming up, trimming up, trimming up. Slowing down. Bring the nose up a bit. Fighting that crosswind like crazy. There we are. It's a gusty one, too. Trimming up, trimming up.
1000.
A little more power. All right, there we are. A little more. A little more gas. Oh, little sunlight reflecting off the clouds too. That's not good. Okay, just looking at the HUD. Keeping our speed fairly constant. I see runway lights. All right. Icy runway environment. There we go.
500.
Getting a little high here. Let's try to steady ourselves out. There we go.
Plus 100.
Wow, we're getting bounced around.
Minimums. Minimums.
Look at the crab I've got going.
100. 40. 20.
Out comes the crab. And there we are. Wow. That was an arrival. That was an arrival, ladies and gentlemen. Wait till you see the replay. We're going to stay on this runway right now and we're going to play this thing back because that was just awesome. There's no two ways about it. That was fun. All right, there's the muck we're in. And let's see if we can see ourselves. Nothing. Ah, there we are. Look at that. Look at the crap we got going. Holy free holies. Look at that. Look at us getting knocked around there. Oh my, see the nose bopping around? Wow. Now watch this. Watch the crab come out there. Look at that. And pretty as you please. I don't generally boast about my arrivals, but I will say, here, get this outside locked spot, get a shot from behind, and you'll be able to see just how crabbed we are as we come in. Watch this. See, we start out over here, we can get blown all the way over this way. Look at that. Look at that crab. We're about 30 degrees to the runway. Look at that. And it's still blowing us to the left. Hoo-hoo, doggies. Look at that. Look at that drift going. Almost blew us off the left side of the runway. Look at that crab we got set up. Oh man, oh man, oh man. Ha, 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 ha. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. That is fun. And with your indulgence, I want to see that again from the cockpit. That was just so much fun. This is, you do not want an autopilot to do that for you. You want to be able to say, look at that. The runway's almost blocked by the pillar. We're offset so much. See, we're right on the localizer, and yet our heading is like that way. God, look at that. Man, oh man. Look at us track along the lights there. Baby. — 85 feet per minute. All right. I've subjected you to enough, but God, just do that whenever you get the chance. That is so much fun. And with that, on a very, very, very sporty day, that's where I'll leave you. The Mighty Dish and I, and maybe tomorrow it'll clear up and we'll play some golf. So, as always, thanks for watching.